Scott Nazi, the assault happened inside this county jail, and the sheriff tells me that the violence will continue if the state does not address a law that keeps hard criminals inside the county system. Good evening. Well, I am on high ground, and this is the evacuation tsunami zone here in Manila. And it seems a little counterintuitive because the arrows were pointing towards the ocean. The ocean's just that way, right there. I could see it clearly. This is the trailer that started the fire around 3:30 a.m. this morning. Firefighters tell me that the flames quickly spread into the building, which happens to be the Presbyterian Church here at Garberville. Carlson Kane sits patiently in his truck, waiting for the man he says tried to abduct his stepdaughter.
She's pretty scared, pretty shook up right now. You know, she doesn't really want to leave the yard. She's having a hard time sleeping. She thinks about the incident.
Kane says his 12-year-old stepdaughter was not far from home off Highway 96 when a man creeped behind her in a white van, got out, and started chasing after her.
Come running up to me and says, "Dad, some older gentleman tried to chase me down up the driveway," and then I got in my vehicle and I tried to track him down.
Tribal Police Lieutenant Dan Norton is not taking the incident lightly.
When children get involved, you know, I don't like that at all.
He says there are no pictures or video, but there is a description of the man.
We're looking for a male described as an older male.
Possibly in his 50s to 60s.
With a long gray hair that's in a braid.
Down to his behind.
Long beard, gray as well. Possibly down to here.
She's rallying with HSU community in support of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival, also known as DACA. She says the executive order by former President Obama made college a reality and allowed her to work.
I got to help out my parents with my expenses too, with working, and you know, I have 3 other sisters, so they got to focus all their energies on them and their money. Well, I know I had to pay rent, you know, I took that burden off of them.
A couple streets over at the rodeo grounds, another shelter.
Right now they tell us to plan at least to stay here until Sunday because of the wind event that's coming up tomorrow night and Saturday.
Mike Hanna is a ranger at Wentes Scout Reservation. It's located about 15 miles east of Willits. He, his family, and 27 horses had to evacuate. And how are the horses doing?
Oh, they're doing great. They've calmed down now with everything. They were pretty excited the first day or two because they're mountain horses and they don't know nothing about sirens and other noises and stuff that the town has.
He says his family is doing fine, and he goes back daily to check on the property. He says it remains untouched by the wildfire.
We're kind of looking at this as just another adventure of a camp out that we all want to go home from.
For over 20 years, Beto and Maria lived the American dream.
And the community supported us a lot, and that's what makes me sad. To think of our 20 years of work, and where is it now?
On February 8th, an early morning call changed everything.
I was by the AT&T. I was watching there. I saw when the firefighters got here and knocked the door down. Once the door was down, the flames came out.
The fire consuming the entire building, but Beto, watching in disbelief, says he couldn't react.
I saw the smoke and I couldn't get close. I couldn't think of anything.
And we're not likely to see that much cultivation. Eureka will be a manufacturing town like it has been since its inception.
And there aren't many retail shops. In fact, there's only one dispensary within Eureka city limits.
So we source our cannabis from all local vendors. All of our vendors have to be licensed, and obviously they have to be current 215 card holders as well. Everything that we do have in our store here is tested.
Company manager of EcoCan, Ray Marklin, says they are glad to be open after 2 years of permitting process.
There's specific zoning requirements where cannabis businesses can operate. We couldn't be in the coastal zone. We can't be within a certain distance from schools.
And there's other requirements, like they can't have a business signed, and
we have to keep the smell from ever exiting the building and impacting any of our neighbors. We take that very seriously.
And with 2018 approaching, city council members will have to decide on recreational pot within city limits as businesses embrace the change.
The next step for us obviously is we'll continue to operate as we are, but we will transition license types for the Adult Use Act, and so our application will go in January. And we'll, since we're already in good standing with our local city here, it'll be a bit of a quicker process, hopefully.
And the director for planning tells me that festivals revolving around cannabis, such as the one that we saw in Arcata back in August, will not be permitted here in Eureka. Now, over in Garverville, there's sanitary districts saying marijuana grows are using up too much of their water. Officials say commercial agricultural water demands are affecting their ability to provide enough water for their residential customers. The sanitary water district tell us they're implementing a water reduction program to limit the amount of water available for these types of businesses. And officials tell us they're currently working on a water use ordinance. But until that ordinance is adopted, the sanitary district says they will not be approving any commercial cannabis permits that requires additional water. And now let's talk about a huge pot bust. Officials say that they seized over 200 pounds of marijuana during a traffic stop in Wyoming. And officials say that all that pot came from here home in Eureka. On September 30th, officials say a Wyoming state trooper stopped a pickup pulling a horse trailer for a registration violation. But surprise, the trooper's canine alerted him to the controlled substance in the back of the horse trailer. This is a picture right there, you could see it, of the officials. That looks like that's 197 pounds of marijuana you're looking at, and they found the pot was being transported to Alabama from Eureka. They say they arrested a Redding man who was identified as 66-year-old Larry Gibson, and officials say they estimate that street value of all that marijuana is about $400,000. But the question still remains, how do you like your coffee? Reporting in Eureka, Max Rodriguez, North Coast News. Even though that big earthquake in southern Mexico did not set any tsunami alerts here at the North Coast, experts say that it's best to find the best evacuation destination like the one where I'm standing and time yourself getting there. Reporting in Manila, Max Rodriguez, North Coast News.